If you are struggling with your faith and you're watching this, you are in the right place at the right time. This is the right video. It could be 5 minutes after I post this. It could be 5 years after I post this. But I want you to know that if you're struggling with your faith, it is a very normal thing to experience, and there is nothing wrong with you. Now, what's prompted this video was, a couple of comments on the last video, and I kind of stewed on it, and I thought about it, and it was like, yeah, I actually can say that I am in some regards struggling with my faith. And I wanted to share some of that experience and some of those thoughts, like I'm talking to a best friend, and hopefully this is somewhat encouraging to you, of some value to you, even if it's just to get you through another day. It may not be world-changing, it may not be life-changing, but if it can just get you through another day. So struggling with your faith, specifically as a Christian, you may already know this, but I'll remind you, it's a very normal, common thing, whether it's mild, moderate, or severe. It's very normal. I think that the problem that most of us face, and this is what I'm facing, is the shame associated with the struggle, because it makes you feel like something's wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with me. This is just a part of our individual journeys as Christians, and just we're walking through this life and trying to figure it out. I made a video last week talking about why I stopped posting YouTube videos. It's been 3 years. I shared a little bit about our struggle with, some finances. It was just a culmination of stuff. And I'm still trying to figure out what to do with this channel. And maybe it's just I make videos like this and I share my faith journey and what's going on in my world, and like I'm talking to a best friend, to just any kind of encouragement, and maybe it will help someone. So in the same way that those guitar tutorials equipped and helped people. But to go back to the mild, moderate, severe types of struggles with faith. Mild might be, I'm struggling with, my theology. Moderate might be, I'm struggling with, is heaven actually real? Is God real? And then severe might be like, I don't know that I believe in God anymore. I don't want to be here. I don't believe what Jesus did. I would say it's a little bit more severe. I think for us, my struggle with my faith, it's not really a struggle with faith, because I still believe in Jesus. I still believe in heaven. I still believe that Christ died for me. I still believe, and I accept that. And I know that when I die, I will be in the presence of Jesus no matter what. And that can't change. That's also another thing. For me, it's very logical. It's emotional. It's a head to heart thing, but also it's still head thing, where I know I can't change my I'm in God's hand, and I know that I can't. I believe in once saved, always saved. So just so we're clear, I don't believe there's anything I can do to change that. And I know that God has promised there's nothing that he would do to let me go, if that makes sense. And so I just have to just take it on faith and just trust and believe in that. And I would rather place my faith in that and find out that I was wrong than not place my faith in it and find out I was wrong. So that's where I sit when it comes to my faith. Okay, I'm rambling. But some exposition to lead to this next point, which is that my struggle, I think, is more shame-based than faith-based. And as I stated just a few minutes ago, you might also, you might feel something towards that maybe it's not that the problem is that, does God exist or not? It's, why am I thinking that? Why is that what is coming to my mind? Why is it I can't just accept that? Or why am I struggling? I feel bad for struggling with my theology. I feel bad that I question whether or not God exists. That's definitely something that has presented itself to me, and I think is kind of the driving force for what Jess and I have dealt with the past 3 years. It's that shame. And to share one verse that comes to mind with all of this that has stuck with me since I was 11. I don't have to a lot of people tattoo like verses. I don't need to tattoo it because it's tattooed on my mind and my heart. That's a very Christian thing to say. But it's Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. And that has been the engine and the steering wheel. When I hear the word Jesus take the wheel, it's that verse that's like the fuel for my faith. It's just trusting in God. I don't know what's going on. Why am I here? What am I even doing with my life? I have to say it, even if the actions aren't there. If I just at least say it and declare it, that I trust in God with all my heart, and I'm not going to lean on what I think is right and what I understand to be true and all this other stuff. If that's where I place my faith, and if I just acknowledge him in everything that I do, if I pray for it, if I just try to just see God in it, then I can trust that I'm going to be okay. And then we can kind of, from there, you can kind of talk about like, well, like he feeds the birds, like how much more does he care about us? Like so many different verses that we can kind of intertwine with that for just ultimate encouragement. But that's one that has stuck with me for quite some time. There are always these triggers, or there's a trauma, or there's tragedy. There's something that leads us to this position or this point in our faith and our journeys that make us start to kind of raise questions. And for me, it was ultimately what led to some of the decisions we made. There was finances. It was, our position in the church that we were at, and my viewpoints of the Christian music industry and worship, and like just not believing in what I was promoting. All of those things, again, not super severe, but just they all came together. And then there was that one song, like I talked about in the last video, that I was just like, I'm done. I cannot with this anymore. I don't know who these people are and what they're trying to accomplish, but it does not seem genuine to me. Again, mild to moderate at best in terms of the struggle, but really more so the shame associated. I feel shame that we're not in church. I feel shame that I had a hard conversation with the pastor at the time, and I was like, I can't go back to that church. And it sucked. It really sucked. But here we are. Just a lot of shame. That's all. That's what it kind of boils itself down to. Like, we stopped going to church. We did try another church. I'll say this. We tried a house church with a mutual friend, and it felt like a clique. It was like, this is weird. It was a very small church, and it was like we did not fit in whatsoever. And we just, after that, we just got busy. I started working more. We just got really busy, and just our Sundays became the days where we just kind of did whatever we wanted to do. And again, you go, like I've led worship for years. You go, like you're leading worship Sunday in, Sunday out, practices, set up, all this stuff for years. Mind you, not ever being paid. Like, we weren't on staff at any church, just constant volunteering, hoping that we would be able to do that one day. And it just never came to fruition. We didn't really make a decision to not go to church. We just stopped going. And then we would talk every so often, like, do you want to go to church? When do you want to go to church? We need to find a church. We literally had a conversation just last week, like, and we constantly bring that up. And the shame is like feeling like I don't want to go to church. And that's how I feel. Like I don't want to go to church. I don't want to experience the modern worship scene again. It just kind of puts a bad taste in my mouth, and I feel guilty about that. And I don't want to read my Bible. I don't want to pray. I'll pray for our dinner. Like, we pray for our dinner every night. I still talk to God, so I wouldn't go as far as to say, like, I'm done praying. I'm never going to pray again. Right? But just, there's not this, like, drive to want to pray. So, again, all of those things I have struggled with over the course of my life, but never this, like, strong, this severe. And it's the same shame associated with all of that. So, here's some truths that I do know. It's okay to rest. There's nothing wrong with you for questioning your faith. There's nothing wrong with you for having any of those feelings. It's very normal, as I stated at the beginning of the video. It's a human condition to question these things. It's a good thing to question them. The hard part is not allowing Satan to get in your head and tell you, like, you should feel bad for not going to church. I thought you were a Christian. What? You know, like all of that stuff, like shame. Like Satan's really, really good at that. He's really good at that. To think that God's going to abandon you, like his grace and mercy just don't work that way. I don't believe it. I don't believe it for a second. There are still, no matter what I struggle with, there are still some solid truths that I can't, they're fundamental to my life. How can I not believe it? And a few key points that I wanted to share is kind of a resting season. And this is probably, maybe this just is what I'm in, or what we're in. I don't know. Maybe we served so much that it's like, we got to make up for all that time. And then I feel guilty about saying that. But the time of, it's like a resting season of not serving, not volunteering, not attending church, but just resting. And just like surely there are biblical characters that didn't go to church and God still used and still spoke to, and they still had a relationship. Like Moses, I feel like Moses still spent time with God and didn't go to church. Or Abraham, right? You're allowed to have questions. You're allowed to feel tired. You're allowed to not have all the answers. And God is not surprised one bit by where I'm at and where I've been for the past 3 years, where you are, where you've been for the past week, or 10 years, however long it's been. So if we can all just kind of come together and just say, hey, this is cool. You're on your faith journey. I'm on mine. You don't have to feel shame about where you are in your walk with Christ and what you're dealing with. You know, if this video has hit home for you and you kind of like, you vibe with this, or whatever the Gen Z crowd says these days, you know, I'm going to try to make more videos like this. This feels right. And just maybe just some encouragement videos. I don't know how often, maybe once a week. So follow along. I also I'm trying to get my spiritual walk back on track. I'm trying to get my physical and mental well-being back on track. There's got to be something to help. And again, maybe even just making these videos just as simple as this is enough for me to get back to where I'm supposed to be, or at least where God wants me to be, where I want to be. I want to be thriving in his will. I also wrote a verse down. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28.